This channel is for adults and not for kids. Hey guys, thanks for stopping back by. So I was getting a stack of movies together to start watching tonight, and I thought, what the hell, I'll check in with you guys and tell you about them. These are anthology horror movies, and anthology horror movies are really cool. When I was a little kid, I used to love these anthology movies. To me, they felt like full feature-length movies all stitched together into one long movie. But now when I watch them, it's like 20, maybe 30 minutes at the most, each little segment. And before you know it, you're like, wow, that's over already? They're a cool, concise little way of telling little stories. They're basically movie versions of a short story. Some of the stories I would like to see dragged out to like a 90 minutes or a 2-hour long movie, but because they're like short stories, they don't necessarily need it. You can just tell what you have to tell, get in, get out, and they're very enjoyable. So yeah, I was throwing together like 4 of these, or five movies. There's others that you could add to this list, like 1972's Asylum. You could add that to this list also, but I didn't. I just grabbed these ones. So up first, and this one's awesome. This has Hammer royalty in it. This is from 1971. This is The House That Dripped Blood. There's our boy Peter Cushing. This one also has Christopher Lee and the always gorgeous Ingrid Pitt. Look at her with those vampire teeth. I know you guys are focused on those 2 big teeth. Man, she's pretty. Okay, so there's different stories in this one. The Peter Cushing story is he's like retired. He's living in the country. He goes into town one day and there's a wax museum. He goes into the wax museum and he's shocked by this figure of this woman that he sees. And apparently he was in love with this chick a long time ago and she died. It was a weird love triangle between the girl, Peter Cushing, and his buddy. His buddy actually comes to town, and they haven't talked in years, and they're catching up, and they go into town, and then Peter Cushing's like trying to steer his friend clear of that waxworks, but they go inside, and his friend sees that dummy, and he's like smitten, and he's obsessed with it, and he can't leave that place alone. He's always in there. And it's the whole like weird love triangle thing starts back up. Anyway, it basically ends with that scene right there. Oh, Mr. Cushing. That's a cool story. Then the Ingrid Pitt one is there's this magic vampire cape. When people put it on, it turns them into vampires. And that it's a clever, it's like a funny sort of story. I love seeing her in The Vampire Lovers or Countess Dracula or The Wicker Man, but she plays kind of like a bratty movie star in this one. It's very cool. Christopher Lee's story is he lives in mortal dread, mortal terror of his own daughter. Turns out that his wife, who passed away, she was a witch. And the little girl is like a spitting image of her mother. And at first, when you're introduced to Christopher Lee, you think he's just this asshole father, super strict. But then you realize that there's all these rules and conditions he puts on her so she doesn't blossom into this full-fledged witch, which she does. And she makes like waxen images of him, like little magic voodoo dolls. It's a very cool story. This is not Hammer. I believe this is Amicus, which Amicus was like Hammer Light. You know, like if Hammer was Coca-Cola, Amicus was like Diet Coke, you know? They made some good stuff though. And they would scoop up a lot of the Hammer actors. But yeah, they felt like a smaller company. And I know all of these are on DVD. I know I have to upgrade these to Blu-ray still. But like I've told you guys before in the past, trying to upgrade your entire collection, especially if you own as much as I do, is a bitch. It's kind of expensive. So I will eventually get around to upgrading all of these. It's just not yet. Up next is Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. This came out in 1965. There's Peter Cushing. He's Dr. Terror. He's got these tarot cards, and he's basically reading the fortunes to all these gentlemen that are on this train with him. So you get like 4 or 5 different stories about how these guys are all going to meet their ends. Donald Sutherland is in this, looking young. He's in a vampire story. There's like a voodoo jazz music episode. It sounds dumb, but it's really cool. This is a fun time. And this again is Amicus. It's not Hammer, but you got Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. Yeah, there's a werewolf story in this one. This is a good time. I do think this one is available on Blu-ray also. I need to upgrade this one. This is a fun time. Okay, this is 2 movies in this one. So this is based on the old EC comics, the Tales from the Crypt and the Vault of Horror. Tales from the Crypt is 72, Vault of Horror is 73. The Tales from the Crypt, I like this movie better than this one. Joan Collins gives off that same vibe as Barbara Steele. Like, they just seem like they're just full of themselves, just cold, calculating bitches. And I don't know, Joan Collins might be lovely in real life, but in all her movie roles, everything I see her in, she's just like this stuck-up bitch. And once again, she plays that in this. And she bumps off her husband on Christmas Eve. She fucking kills her husband. And she's about to get away with it too. Except we hear over the news that a insane killer has escaped an asylum, and he's dressed in a Santa Claus outfit, and he's got a big axe, and he comes peeking through the window, you know, and he's gonna get her on Christmas Eve, and yeah, that's a cool story because she gets her comeuppance big time. Then you have Peter Cushing, and my daughter hates this one, and it is very heartbreaking. Peter Cushing plays like this little old man, this little retiree. His wife has died. He's all by himself, and he gives candy and treats to the neighborhood children. And these rich assholes, they want to buy his property, buy his house, and they basically break his heart and kill him. And so he comes back from the dead to do the same to them. And that famous makeup of him right there, where he's just like this rotted corpse. You can see he's got no eyes in his eye sockets. He's got like these gnarled teeth. It's really cool. Yeah, Tales from the Crypt, that's a fun time. Vault of Horror is good also. It's got some fun stories in it too, but yeah, I like Tales from the Crypt more. You don't have a desiccated corpse as the Crypt Keeper. I mean, you have a clearly human Crypt Keeper. So this is, you know, like probably 30 years before the Tales from the Crypt TV show came out. But highly enjoyable. These are both a fun fun time. I recommend both of these movies. I like this Midnight Movies titles. This was always cool. I collected the shit out of these before I discovered Blu-ray. And yeah, now I will have to upgrade both of these movies, but this is a fun time. Okay. So this is the best one out of the bunch that I think. So this is Trilogy of Terror. And all three movies star Karen Black. And it's directed by Dan Curtis of Night Stalker fame. He made Dracula with Jack Palance. He made The Night Stalker. He made Dark Shadows. Dan Curtis just has like a very particular look to it, a very particular vibe. You know you're watching Dan Curtis stuff just instantly. It's got a very cool 1970s horror vibe going on. And all of his stuff is like that. Trilogy of Terror came out in 1975. Like I said, it stars Karen Black in 4 different roles in 3 different little movies. It's a Trilogy of Terror. These are all based on Richard Matheson stories. And like I've told you guys before in the past, H.P. Lovecraft is my favorite author, but Richard Matheson is just below Lovecraft. Like I love Richard Matheson. They're based on 3 of his short stories. My favorite one, of course, is with the crazy Zuni fetish doll, this monstrous voodoo doll. It's based on the short story Prey. The actual episode in this is just called Amelia, based on the girl that Karen plays. But in the story of Prey and in the Amelia, this chick, she gets this present for her boyfriend, and it is this wooden Zuni fetish doll. What she doesn't know is that the totem, the wooden icon, this voodoo doll, it holds inside of it the soul, the spirit of this warrior, he who hunts. That's what he's called in the book. Anyway, his spirit inhabits this thing, and he's got like this little golden chain around his waist, which is like a protective charm that holds the spirit inside the wooden doll. And of course, the chain comes off, and then the little monster's running around. He's like, yeah, 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 yeah. Like he sounds like that. And it's practical effects. It looks awesome the way they did the little doll. He's like running after her, and he's got all these sharp teeth, and he's biting at her, and he's got that little spear. He's stabbing her in the Achilles heel. It's really nicely done. Anyway, I'm going to ruin the ending of all 3 of these. So if you don't want to know the ending, close your ears. Just like in the book, she traps the little monster inside the oven. She closes it up. She turns that shit on high, and she cooks him because he's just a wooden doll. And he burns up. But she opens up the oven to take a peek to make sure he's gone, and whoosh, she's overcome with the spirit that was trapped inside, the soul of the Zuni warrior, and now he inhabits her. And it's like that in the book too. He who hunts is now inside of her. And so she calls up her mother at the end of the story. She tells her mom to come over. And then you see Karen Black like hunched over with this big kitchen knife. And she's got this big gaping grin of sharp teeth, just like the doll had. Oh wait, there's a picture of it right there. You guys see her smile? She looks like Venom. She's got this giant toothy grin. So she's basically gonna kill her mom. Yeah, super good. If you only watched one of these short stories on this thing, that's the one to watch. That's the one at the end too. They saved the best for last. She plays she plays 2 characters in this one. She's like this frumpy librarian sort of. She wears layers of clothes. She's kind of ugly. And then she plays this sort of, she'll fuck anything in pants, anything with a pulse. She's got like this super blonde hair and really red lipstick, and she wears skimpy outfits. And you come to find out that it's a split personality, and it's a war between these two women of who has control. That's a good one. And then the last one is, again, she plays like a frumpy, she wears layers of clothes and her hair's messy, and she looks like some old biddy. She's a teacher at a college, and there's this big man on campus, this guy who is trying to nail all the chicks on the campus. And she walks by him one day, and all of a sudden this idea pops into his head. He's like, I wonder what she looks like underneath all those clothes. And it was almost like it wasn't even his idea. It just popped into his head. So he asks her out on a date. They go out on a date. He drugs her. He takes a bunch of naked photos of her, and then he sort of lords that over her head. He blackmails her with that stuff. So he starts fucking her, and otherwise he's going to let this information out. And then one day she's like, yeah, nah, I'm done. I'm tired of you. And he's like, what do you mean you're tired of me? And you come to find out she's the actual predator and he's actually the prey. And she's been doing this shit from town to town, from college to college, from guy to guy. This is like a thing she does. And she's the one that put that idea in his head. It's super good. Richard Matheson writes really cool, scary stories. And like I said, some of these could be pulled out into 90-minute long, 2-hour-long movies. But a lot of these, they just tell a nice, concise, short story. They get in, they get out, they tell you what they have to tell, and then they get out. And I think I really enjoyed these anthology movies when I was a little kid, just because they're just long enough for a little kid to watch. I would sit there and you would see, which one is it where, I think it might be Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. There's one where Christopher Lee has to deal with a cut off crawling hand, and I always liked that one. There's they're just long enough for a little kid to sit there and feel like he watched a whole movie. But now, now that we're grown up, you watch them and you're like, wow, that's over already. But they still tell you the story they have to tell, and they're super enjoyable, especially this time of year during the spooky season. Like I said, you could add Asylum. That's another good one, another anthology. There's some others that are out there. I just didn't grab them. I just grabbed these 4 to show you guys. Anyway, I just wanted to say hi and to tell you guys about these anthology movies. You guys should check them out. They're highly enjoyable. If you check out one, at least check out the made-for-TV Dan Curtis awesome trilogy of terror. This is the one I like the most out of all of them. And I like those ones a lot, but this one has that Dan Curtis feel. Karen Black is just acting her ass off in this thing. You have an awesome little monster running around like this little voodoo doll from hell. Monsters in Motion has a full-sized, one-for-one sized Zuni fetish doll that I was thinking about buying, but I don't know. There's just so many cool monsters that you want to pick up. You can't own them all, even though we try. But I don't know. I might get one of those one of these days. This is the one I would watch out of all the rest. I mean, above the others. All right, guys. I snuck home for my lunch hour. I'm actually on lunch right now, and I got to get back to work. So I will touch base with you guys later. I hope you guys are having a kick-ass beginning of the week. And I'll talk to you later with some more monster goodness. All right. Happy Halloween.